So the response to my previous video really surprised me. I was sure no matter how well I handled what I had to say, I was going to get a ton of backlash because Prime is so beloved. But outside of a few instances, for the most part, the general reaction from the comments seemed to be, "Oh, thank God, someone finally says it." I hadn't realized that quite so much resentment had built up for Prime. But that's not to say that just because the backlash didn't come from my viewers, there wasn't a backlash. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt me to be criticized or disliked, but there are a few things that I want to address that get said about me often enough. A common criticism of mine is that I'm so negative. It's obvious that I don't even like the Transformers, I'm just doing this show as a way to clout chase. And I have two things to say about that. One, do you really think that if I didn't like something, I would bother spending 50 to 60 hours of my week talking about it, rather than just talking about something that I, do like? I fucking hate Five Nights at Freddy's. It is the antithesis of scary to me, but you don't hear me ever say anything about it because I don't care. Meanwhile, I care a lot about Transformers, so you hear me talking about it. And secondly, I could get more clout digging it out of a hole in the ground than I would talking about the Transformers. No one is ever going to say, "Hey, you better take that PerspectiveEnd guy seriously. He's a big-name toy reviewer." So you may not like what I say, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with not liking me, but understand that I say what I say because I care a lot, not because I don't care enough. And that I tell you what I truly feel. That's why the Prime review turned out the way that it did. In all honesty, I think I could do a better review of that show now, immediately in its aftermath. I just had so much bile and vitriol built up in my system that I needed to get out for my own personal sanity. And now that it's out, I can examine the show with greater clarity. But first, I needed to say what I needed to say because this show is about giving you my thoughts. If it wasn't, I wouldn't see a point in it. I don't want to make shit up. I want to finally be free of the thoughts that I'm thinking by letting them out. And I wouldn't be doing that if I was just making up things to say. But all that brings me to the point of this video. I'm known as the reviewer who's always negative, which I'm just not. I'm actually far more positive than I am negative. I think that perception stems from the fact that this fandom is pervaded by incredibly infrequent negative criticism. It is rare for reviewers in this community to talk about the bad parts of good figures, which I often do engage in doing. And as such, I think people aren't prepared for that, so they just assume that I'm being more negative than I am. I've often seen my fans try to dispel this myth about me by telling those who make this criticism that I'm actually way more positive than they think, though that doesn't typically get believed. To those people, I am making this video as a resource for you. When someone tells you that I'm too negative and you want to defend me, this video exists to take the pressure off of you. This is something that you can send their way, showing I am provably more positive than they think, meaning that you don't really have to argue that point. I will also include screenshots of the various lists I'm about to make in the description, since a lot of people will take a look at a video and say, "Nope, not doing that." Hopefully this will make your lives easier when you choose to defend me, which I'm not asking that you do. I'm a big boy. I have very thick skin. I can take their negativity and dislike, and I never want to weaponize my fans. This exists for you if you want to defend me, and if the conversation gets too ugly, I want you to prioritize your happiness over protecting my image. That all said, here's proof that I am not the reviewer that most people think I am. Alright, so the way this is going to work is I'm going to go through my back catalog of videos and rate them. I'll cover each with a colored tile after I summarize my verdict. Green for good, yellow for mixed, red I think is obvious, and black for videos where a rating is not applicable. Those are things like roasts, which are jokes and are not meant to be taken as legitimate criticism, any kind of showcase like my collection tour or fan art, or just kind of any weird video where I'm not trying to present an assessment of something. So the obvious start of this whole mess has been this video, where I don't think I can really argue that I didn't rate it red. It's definitely not as cut and dry as that. I do really like the third season and all, but it is a predominantly negative video. Now the next one, there is no question. I was overwhelmingly positive about Universe Hound. It's a great figure. Now the one after that, I was also overwhelmingly positive about. There were a few that I was a little negative about, but for the most part, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to all of these upcoming figures. Then the one before that, also overwhelmingly positive, though I will say 50% overwhelmingly positive, 50% mixed. The original Beast Wars Tarantulas is fantastic, but the new one from TransArts has a good number of flaws that I think it overcomes, but it's still a little bit mixed. Though I will say the video overall is at least 75% positive, so it is another green one. One before that, again, just overwhelmingly positive. I absolutely love that version of Ares. It's a fantastic figure. Then you're going to have the Power Levels videos, and those are, as I said before, completely unapplicable. They just basically don't exist for the purposes of this video. Now, the one before that is the Wolfang video, which I knew when I bought the figure was going to be negative because I had that thing as a child, and it sucked. I specifically bought it entirely because of how bad it sucks, and I thought it would be very funny to review it, and absolutely trash something from my childhood, which I'll let you be the judge of whether or not it's fair to count that as negative against what I'm doing here, considering the fact that the point of it was, hey, I'm buying trash, I know it's trash, it's going to be fun to review trash. Rather than, just be coming down hard on something. Then from there, the Beast Wars Iguanas figure was absolutely amazing. I love that old figure. It's another one that I was almost universally positive on. VNR Optimus, another overwhelmingly positive video. I absolutely just am thrilled with that thing. It's fantastic. Then there was the Prowl and Crash Bar, another universally positive video. I've had very little negative to say about these two. I obviously had some criticisms, but what was there was very minor. Again, I was very positive about the upcoming figures from PulseCon. Then again, I was also incredibly positive about the Armada Prime. I will say that there were a few issues I took with this, just in that I felt like the core robot mode was a little weak, but I didn't have really that much negative to say about it. It just felt like that part was a little weak. Now, the video before that was another really positive one. I was looking forward to a lot of the stuff in these reveals. Once again, we finally hit a negative one, though, with the Rise of the Beast Rhinox. Other people have nicer things to say about it. I really don't, because the mainline one is just so much, like, demonstrably better. It poses better, it transforms better, it has a better, more cohesive alt mode that also has better posing, it has better accessories. The only place it really loses to this thing is in its accuracy to the version of the character who was in the movie, who's barely in the movie, so I don't really see it as being a valid trade-off for everything this loses. I think that this is a bad figure as a result. Now, the video before that, once again, we're positive. And as you can see, I'm predominantly so far, like, way more positive than I am negative. I don't remember this one here specifically, the leak listings. I can't say for sure whether or not I was positive or negative, so I think it's just a safe bet to say that this one was mixed. Then there's the saving the movies. I'd say that this is not applicable. It's not necessarily that there isn't negative criticism in there, but that wasn't the point. There's a tacit admission in there that the movies need to be saved, but I won't say that, that necessarily constitutes negative criticism. And since I can see the roasting primes right from here, I'll also just, block that one up as non-applicable, and as will I my fan art. Which were all great. I love my fan art. Even though that video is overwhelmingly positive because I praise every single thing that I received there, I don't think it's fair to say like, oh hey, I can use my fan art to pad my numbers on being positive. So then we have the Repaints Palooza 3, which I believe was mixed. There's I'd say that it's borderline me. They're mostly good figures in there that I talk about. I don't think that the repaints do a lot for each of them, so I'll go with mixed, even if I do think that most of those figures are actually pretty decent. This one I will, let myself get a little indulgent on, because even though it is essentially a fan gift to me, so of course I'm going to love the hell out of it, I do think that it's fair that I was, overwhelmingly positive about these, because this one I'm overwhelmingly positive about the mold in general, and then this one I think is a good repaint, even if that one was a little bit more mixed. The Nemesis I was overwhelmingly positive on. I absolutely love that figure. I recommend it to absolutely everyone. This one, very obviously called Rants of Joy, I think I can determine was an overwhelmingly positive video. I know I was overwhelmingly positive about the Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime as well, from the main line. That's a really great figure. I was overwhelmingly positive about TFCon Toronto's reveals, and then there's a Fraternacons episode, so that is non-applicable, as well as is the collection tour. I was overwhelmingly positive about Skyquake. I think I was mixed to negative on this one. I can't be sure, but I'll say that I was mixed to negative, and I'll just go with that, marking it off as red, because, honestly, I need to pad my reds, considering the fact that, as you can see, there's a whole lot of green in there. Then I was overwhelmingly positive about Megatron. I was obviously overwhelmingly negative about the Gamer Edition figures. Absolutely suck. They are just awful. I've never been able to find the Prime, but these two are just absolutely heinous pieces of shit. The Barricade is obviously the worst one. I might be a little too hard on the Bumblebee, but I don't think I am. The Bumblebee is not fun and falls apart. I think I was pretty negative on these two as well. I do not like either of those figures. I cannot wait to not own them anymore. Roasty Beast Wars does not count. I was obviously very mixed on Rise of the Beast. I'll say that movie was just a real solid 5 out of 10 in every single conceivable way. It does not leave a great impression, so I'm going to call that a mixed and leave it at that. The Rise of the Beast character cards obviously don't apply. The Rise of the Beast Cheetor, I think I'm not a fan of that Studio Series figure at all, so that's another red one. So we're finally getting into a good number of reds, but then there's, another 2 non-applicable ones, and then we have the Rise of the Beast Rhinox, which I was just exceedingly positive on. And then after this, for a while, it became very, very heavily just into the news of like the upcoming Rise of the Beasts. So I can't say that it was basically just all going to be black for a while. So then I decided to I jumped down a full year, about a full year to even older figures, just to show you that this isn't a new development. My extreme positivity in so much of this here is not a new thing for me. So I wanted to jump down like a year to show you that at least for a year, I've been pretty much overwhelmingly positive. The RC here, I can see why people would think I'm mixed on this, because I said in the video that it doesn't really have a purpose, and I was kind of very heavily hammering on that, so I can see why people would think I'm mixed on that. I think it's a very good figure. I think it's a great alternative to the Generations RC. The Generations RC, however, is still available. Like, you can still buy that on Big Bad Toy Store, so it's not really a necessary thing. That was really what I was hammering on, is it's so much that old thing, not really updated all that much, to the point where anything that it really does is kind of a side grade. So it's still as good as that old RC, though, or almost as good at least. So I'm going to say that was actually a positive review. I can't say that I really remember what this one was. It's been long enough that this periodical video of mine is fresh in my memory. So I will just give it a yellow and say that I was probably positive about some stuff and negative about others. Now we've got another really bad figure. I bought this entirely because my fans wanted me to buy it, even though I knew I was going to hate it. I hated the original version of Cog. I was obviously going to hate the red version of Cog. So this really changed nothing. It was exactly as just flimsy as the original one. It loved to fall apart. So that was a negative video, and I am not sorry that I think that Cog sucks, because Cog sucks. This was a non-applicable video, and then I was overwhelmingly, just exceedingly positive about Sludge. I feel really bad that so many of these are so badly handled. They just kind of fall apart for a lot of people. Well, not fall apart, but the knees don't work on most people's. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the best of the 86 Dinobots in all of the 86 previous Dinobots have been really, really good. So being the best of the best is really quite something. The Tarn's Mask I was very positive on. This one here is not applicable. That was a video that my fans were doing reviews on, so that was just for fun with my patrons. Then the Transmetal Transarts Megatron I was overwhelmingly positive about. This What's the Best Megatron? I feel like I should mark it down as mixed because there are going to be figures in there that aren't great, but I think most of the Megatrons I have are actually really, really good. So I will actually give this one a green and say that I was overwhelmingly positive. I was also overwhelmingly positive about Motormaster, though I did end on a note of, like, I don't know that I will be able to say that Menasor is overly positive, considering the fact that we don't have, like, all of the figures for Menasor yet. Now we do, and now I have yet to get to that final Menasor, so we'll see what happens with that eventually. I was overwhelmingly positive about Sphinx. That was an excellent figure. I was overwhelmingly positive about Scrap Heap, or Junk Heap. There's Junk Heap and Scrap Heap now, and it's stupid that they both have almost the exact same name. I was overwhelmingly positive about Bumblebee Ironhide. I think I was overwhelmingly positive about this one, but I'm just going to say mixed because I can't be sure. I was overwhelmingly positive about G-Axis, so that's another green one right there. And I was obviously very, very, very negative. I still hate this figure very deeply. Legacy Blitzwing. There are good features to it. I like some of the aspects, but overall, I think this thing just sucks. I was overwhelmingly positive about the Core Class Shockwave, so that's another one there. And then the Behold God. This video was supposed to be a YouTube short, but the YouTube algorithm wasn't great at this time for detecting shorts, so it wound up just being a regular video. So that is not applicable. It was just an excerpt from a larger video. I was overwhelmingly positive about the Acid Rain figures. The Cursed AFTF video is a joke and is not meant to be taken seriously. It's just us looking at bad pictures of toys. This one is, I'm going to say I was overwhelmingly negative about this figure, but it will be up to you to decide whether or not that's fair, considering that my copy of this came broken. It literally was completely useless. It couldn't fully transform because one of the arms had some glue in it or something, and it just couldn't move. So of course I'm going to rate this badly. It was broken. I don't think it's fair to hold this one against me necessarily. Then we have the Deathsauruses that I bought, one from MMC, one from Planet X. And this one's weird because it's essentially positive, but it's also kind of mixed because the robot mode on the Planet X just isn't worth getting the figure for. The robot mode on the Planet X is pretty lame. And then the Beast mode on the MMC is pretty lame as well, but the robot mode is glorious. So you kind of need both of these to get a perfect version of the IDW character. So I'll just say that it's mixed, but you can be free to disagree with me on that and give me the win. I'm overwhelmingly positive about IDW Springer. It's an excellent figure. I don't really have more to say on that. I was overwhelmingly positive about Cybershark. I was overwhelmingly positive about these reveals. I don't remember what I was about these, so we'll just go with mixed, assumingly. I was overwhelmingly positive about the Swindlekiss. The first Repaints Palooza, I think I was mixed on. I'm not sure, so we'll just go mixed. The tier list video is not applicable. The Dr. Wu Blaster and Skywarp is overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive on the Jurassic Parks 2-pack. The AoE roast is not applicable. I was overly positive about Airwolf Springer. I was mixed on Siege Springer. Looking at MMC figures is not applicable. I was mixed on Generation Select Tricranius. I was mixed on 86 Spike. I was mixed on Red Knockout. I was overwhelmingly positive about Dragstrip. I am mixed on the line overall for Kingdom in that it had a lot of really, really good figures, but it felt like the line kind of forgot its way partway through. So I obviously have to go mixed overall, and I think it's fair. I mean, it's an entire toy line, so there are going to be some bad ones and some good ones in there. I wanted to be a little bit more positive than that, but I just couldn't be. I was positive about the Kickback. These reveals videos, I don't remember my reaction to. Again, it's been too long, so we will just go with yellow. And right now, you're seeing a lot more yellow than red. None of these have been red. In fact, it's been a good long while since I got a red, and the red figure, obviously not the red figure, but the figure that I reviewed badly was broken. So, you can see that even when I'm not being positive, I'm usually mixed. But then we get back down to some positive stuff. I was overwhelmingly positive about Reveal the Shield Lugnut. I was overwhelmingly positive about Legacy Iguanus. I was very mixed. I remember being on this one. So this one, yellow, teaching you how to be a YouTuber is not applicable. I was overwhelmingly positive about Legacy Laser Prime. I am, of course, horribly, just absolutely negative about the Toy World Scrapper. That is one of the worst sets I've ever bought. It broke a billion times. It's just awful. There's a reason why he's standing crooked in the thumbnail, and that's because that figure is broken, and he can't not stand like that now. So yeah, no, fuck that set. Fuck that set so hard. Fuck the fact that it's like, the down payment on a car. Fuck that set. I'm not sorry that it sucks. I'm sorry that people lied to me and told me that it's good. It sucks. The roasting of animated is not applicable. I was overwhelmingly positive about Legacy Bulkhead. I think I was fair and positive about the Fans Toy Soundwave, which I have since learned is not actually truly a Fans Toy Soundwave. It turns out the Fans Toys designer actually left the company for bad business practices, and he went off to start his own company. So that's what that is, and that's why we finally got that. So that is the Fans Toy Soundwave. And knowing that, I'm a little more forgiving of it. That it's like a new guy just setting out to try and actually right the wrongs of the company he was a part of before. But yeah, I think I was fair. I think I was positive on it anyways. I really don't like the alt mode, and I really don't like the transformation. But the robot mode I actually have in display now. So yeah, I think I was positive for that. I was overwhelmingly positive to the Deformation Space Blaster. I was overwhelmingly positive to the Kingdom Blaster, and I was overwhelmingly negative to the Kingdom Core Class Hot Rod, which is just a garbage toy. I don't think that anyone likes that thing, and I think I was absolutely fair in calling it crap. Then, as you can see, that there was a lot in just this section here, where it turned out I was mixed on, but as you can see, once again, the predominant through line of my videos is positivity. And just so that way you can see that this isn't a new thing. I have not just started being positive. We're going to go down to the start of my channel. We're actually going to start at the bottom this time, since this is, the actual start. And obviously, the very first thing I ever reviewed was the Transformers Siege, which I called a masterpiece. Then the reason that it motivated me to start YouTube was just that I had really no strong feelings about it. It was that utterly bland, so we're going to give it a yellow rating. Then the Transformers Prime Wars trilogy, I reviewed negatively, but I also called it The Room, and hilariously, I think that this show is incredibly watchable just because it's fun for how awful it is. So yeah, I'll take it and say that it is a negative review, but it is a negative review of something that is actually incredibly fun for its negative qualities. So I think it's fair to say that you should be the judge if this is held against me, or if it's actually a positive video masquerading as a negative video. The worst commercial, I'll technically take the hit and say that it is a negative video, just primarily because I am arguing that it is doing a bad job trying to be what it needs to be, but it's almost not applicable. It's not that it's positive, but it's almost not a thing. Then the Fixing Siege is not applicable. As much effort and love I put into that, as positively as it was received, it's just not an applicable video. The Introducing My Channel video is obviously not an applicable one. And then obviously the video that started my rise to where I am now is going to be one of my most negative ones ever, Earthrise: A Bad Toy Line, where I just absolutely shat all over Earthrise, even though most of it wasn't out yet. I'll say that, many of you have seen, I've re-evaluated this one, and now I would probably rate the line as overall mediocre. There's just a lot of problems with it, but there was actually some really good figures that came out later. But right now, I will say that I will take that and say proudly that I rated this as a bad toy line. However, then I immediately transitioned from that to Siege, which was an absolutely amazing toy line, and I will hear no arguments to the contrary. Siege is one of my favorite toy lines of all time. Then I went back to Power of the Primes, which was, to be fair, a bit of a mixed bag. Power of the Primes, I like it more than most people do, but I do see the problems, like Volcanicus wasn't very good, and that's kind of like one of the centerpieces of that whole line. But I absolutely love the Digivolving figures, and I absolutely adore Abominus. So I think I like this line more than most people, but to be fair, I do call it mixed in the video. Then there's MMC Probus, which I was overwhelmingly positive about. There is Titan's Return, which I was overwhelmingly positive about. There was Combiner Wars, which I will say I was mixed on, even though I think I like Combiner Wars more than I don't, but I didn't have enough of the toy line to really make a determination there. Then there was Studio Series Blitzwing, which I was overwhelmingly positive about. There was What's the Best Megatron, which I will say at this point I was probably mixed on. There was Nicey, which I was definitely mixed on. Truck Not Monkey is not applicable. The Beast Wars, What's the Best? Every single Masterpiece Beast Wars figure is pretty much excellent in its own way. The worst one might be Black Arachnia, but she still has a good quality, so I'll say that was overwhelmingly positive. This one, when Kingdom got announced, was hilarious to me because I think that I view this video as overwhelmingly positive, but there was one guy in the comments who was like, "You're just a bastard who just hates things, aren't you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're just so negative about this, and we never get things that aren't G1." And I was like, "I don't understand. I was overwhelmingly positive. I'm so stoked for what I'm seeing here. What?" So that was positive, but apparently some people don't necessarily see it that way. Parts forming is objectively bad. I will say it's not a negative video, even though it's it's calling something bad. It's just that parts forming is it's my argument as to why you should avoid parts forming at all costs. I'll say that what it is it's not theoretically negative. Then the Optimus Prime, What's the Best? There are almost no bad Optimus Primes. Even the ones that I don't like, I don't recognize as bad. I just think that I don't like them. So that was definitely a positive video. This was unapplicable. A review of Season 1. I called it a beautiful mess. I think that Season 1 is great and fun, and I call that a positive video. I was positive about my What's the Best Hot Rod. I was positive about Studio Series 86. I was positive about What's the Best Weaponizer. I was extremely positive about the Masterpiece Soundwave. Masterpiece Soundwave is still one of the best figures of all time. It is unapplicable. When I tell you about Transformers Collector's Lingo, I will say that it was unapplicable. This one where I was asking whether or not I should buy these upcoming figures. I was extremely positive, just extraordinarily so, about the MMC Combaticons. I'll say that I was mixed about OP Leader. I was honestly way too positive about the Earthrise Smokescreen. If I redid this video, this would be a red video. I would be entirely negative about this thing, based on the fact that it just breaks all the time for everyone who's not me. It wasn't all that good. I was being too nice, and I shouldn't have been. Maybe I was trying to combat the notion that I was overwhelmingly negative with that one. But yeah, no, I should have shit all over it, and I didn't, and I regret it. I was overwhelmingly positive about Masterpiece Wheeljack. The Fraternacons is unapplicable. The Siege is better than Earthrise is unapplicable. The What's the Best Studio Series, I'll say, was a positive video. The What's the Best 500 subscriber special was a positive video. The MMC Tarn was a positive video. The What's the Best RC was a positive video. And it's actually kind of amazing to see that I was really heavily pushing What's the Best at the time. I don't know how I was getting out so many What's the Best in such a short time frame, because those are hard videos to make. Siege Wheeljack is a overwhelmingly positive video, and Earthrise Trailbreaker was an overwhelmingly positive video. So you can see that even from the start, there was a very early kind of rocky part where it was mixed, negative, positive, mixed, positive, mixed, positive, mixed, and then from there it just turns basically fully positive and stays fully positive. And that's not even I changed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I changed. This is This is the same I've ever been. It's just that, like, I just happened to have some negative things to really talk about at the start. And as you can see, as we scroll up through, I am way more positive than I'm mixed. I'm more mixed than I'm negative, and I'm barely ever negative. So feel free to consider me a more negative reviewer than most, but I am not a mindless hater, as you can plainly see. It's clear as day. I'm actually a lot more positive than you think. So ultimately, at the end of all of this, out of 136 videos, I was negative in 15 of them and mixed in 23. That means that I am negative 11% of the time and mixed 16. And if we remove all the non-applicable videos, which there were 30 of, bringing us down to 106 videos total, that just means that I'm negative 14% of the time and mixed 23. Which means that over 63% of the time, I am overwhelmingly positive, and 86% of the time, I'm not negative. So I'm not someone who hates everything. Not even close. It's okay to dislike me, but find a real reason. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.